I can go in, look at the agenda. I don't have to run from one stage to another. And I can just go in, watch the half an hour content or interview or panel discussion that I'm really interested in. Or even if I don't have time because I'm working, at the end of the day, I can go back and just watch the recording. So I don't really miss anything that I'm really curious about.
What did you recently change your mind about?
So yeah, it's a little bit tricky, but I was thinking that probably the main thing around my work is conferences, online conferences. So I always wanted to be at conferences there in person, and I still think that the social element is very, very important. So where you can have human interaction, when you can bump into someone you didn't even expect to bump in, and you create those relationships and contacts, and then I think they can be very valuable. So I still think that there is that aspect. But in terms of the content, I found that, now that I've, attended a couple of online conferences, it's just, for me at least, an easier way to digest the information because I'm very focused. So I can go in, look at the agenda. I don't have to run from one stage to another. And I can just go in, watch the half an hour content or interview or panel discussion that I'm really interested in. Or even if I don't have time because I'm working, at the end of the day, I can go back and just watch the recording. So I don't really miss anything that I'm really curious about. And I think it's a more efficient way for me to actually, explore all the opportunities from a conference. And I liked going to conferences, and I think I still like to go to conferences in the future in person, but from a content point of view, that's what I found.
What are some examples of conferences that were really a nice experience being remote?
Yeah, I don't know if it's I don't want to do
Sure.
promotion or anything, but I attended COGAX, which is a big tech conference based in the UK. Obviously now it doesn't matter where it's based, but yeah, there are a lot of topics that I'm interested there, from AI to space tech. So there were very various topics, and it was actually it's still hard to to kind of pick the ones that I wanted to listen to. And then I also listened to CB Insights. So that was also useful because that's a US conference. And even, the times didn't even work for me sometimes because it was too late, US time. But then next day I could just listen to some of the talks during my lunch. So I think that was really good. And there were also a lot of interesting stuff from investors, and also industries like gaming or health tech, or like very, very trendy themes that you want to get some updates on.
Do you want to make your sales more repeatable and reliable? Do you want to have less volatility and more growth in your revenue per month? At Strategy Sprints, we do only one thing: strategy in sprints. Strategy means more revenue through a better offer. Doing it in sprints means having more energy in your team every week. Check out if your ROI is as high as it is for most service-based and online businesses and startups we work with, which is over 100%. You can see yours in just 15 minutes by going to strategysprints.com/sales and completing our exercise to know what your ROI would be with our accelerator program. We are ready to sprint. Are you?
What's one of your current favorite pieces of music?
So I think that's my favorite question, because the song is called Sunflower. I don't know if you know that. I think it's quite a new song. And the way I got to know this song is during the last couple of months, I participated in a so-called buddy scheme program. So there is this organization called Solidarity Sports. And what they are doing is basically they are organizing events and activities for kids who have some disadvantaged backgrounds. And they started with sport events, but now I think they are doing other activities as well. And I used to go to some of those while it was possible, and hopefully it will be possible soon again. But during these months, they had this buddy scheme program, which meant that I had video chats for 2 months for 2 little girls. It was basically to play with them, to ask how they are doing, and I have to say I got a lot of like good vibes from them. And so one day when I called them on video chat, they were there prepared, and they gave me a concert, and they were singing me this song, Sunflower. And actually it's a great song as well, but I think for me that will be a very nice memory from these times, and a very special memory.
Beautiful. Who should be my next guest on the show, and why?
So I'd like to nominate Margaret Shane Demi. So she works at Vara UK, which is an accelerator, and I think she's done a great job, as part of her role. But also she pulled together a panel on backing Black founders, and I think it was a very, very genuine discussion. And I think she could share some very create some good insights with the audience, because I think there's a lot of talking about this topic and many other topics, diversity. But I think what she's doing very well is that she tries to break that down to actions, instead of just talking about it, and I find it very impressive.
Beautiful. You have also some advice for young people who are entering your industry, the VC industry. So when you think of how they prepare to enter the industry, what are a couple of tips that you can give them from your experience?
Yes, so as I said, and I don't want to promote, but there are podcasts out there, the one that I mentioned, that I think can give you an insight into what it means to work for a VC or a corporate VC, how you can get in there, what kind of skills you need. So you get a lot of details there. I think it's, first of all, you have to have the drive in yourself that, this is something that I love to do, and keep an open mind. So if you can be very open to different ideas, different mindsets, I think that's very helpful in this industry, because you'll come across different products, ideas, opinions that might be very different from yours. So it's not just black and white, it might be red. It's like a completely, thinking out of the box sometimes. And some of the best ideas, come out of those very sometimes weird ideas that, when you hear them at the first time. So that's why I'm saying keeping that open mind, that's very important to get into this industry, because that's how you will probably also support ideas that no one else would have supported. And obviously I would recommend to read books on this topic. So it depends, if you want to get into VC, I think it's always useful to have some startup entrepreneurial background, so you'll understand what it means, even if you can't found a startup. But if you work for a startup, that might be very helpful, or if you have some tech background. And then read books, just the one that I said, but there are so many other books out there. And there are great lists. So we work with Diversity VC as well, and I rather use the word collaborate, but they, for instance, have some resources on their website. There are other great websites. So Episode One Ventures, where I used to work, they also have a great blog where you can actually read very good blog posts about different topics, what the term sheet is, and some insights into investments, Y Combinator have available resources. So if you search for those, and if you read some books, you'll get a sense of what it means. And I would encourage everyone to go to free events, meetups, online. Like now there are so many online events that you can get access to. So the more people you talk to, the more you'll understand, is this something for me? And if yes, like what skills I need. So it's basically keeping an open mind, talking to people, reading, and you'll build up that knowledge that is needed to get there.
Thank you so much, Eva, for being on the show. How can people keep in contact with you and be in your orbit?
So I think the best way, if you contact me via LinkedIn, and it's always very useful if you put some notes next to your connection or request, because then I'll know why you are contacting me. So that would be very helpful. But yeah, I'm available on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much, and keep rolling.
We all know that working in sprints is better, but how do we know what to work on? You're in luck, because we have a 15-minute exercise that will give you complete clarity on where to take your project next. Go to strategysprints.com/sales to complete our short exercise and meet one-on-one with an expert sprint coach to identify your number one bottleneck.